So I know that most of you, being freshmen, you're fairly new to Hunterdon Central, but you've no doubt come through the main entrance here at some point in time. Has anyone glanced over here, taken a look at this? Maybe even walked over to it? Have you guys? A little bit here and there? All right. So now's your opportunity. If you've never explored or examined our 9/11 memorial, this is your chance to do so. Once we wrap up, I mean, you are welcome. You can actually come up and touch it, get a feel for the object and the memorial itself. So we have it here on this side of the foyer, but also if you take a look on that side of the foyer as well, this is part of it. The two sort of work in concert with one another. They do go hand in hand. So I wanted to ask you first, take a good look. What are some of the components of this that you notice? Different details, different elements of the memorial, whether it's on this side or whether the main arrangement that we have over here. What do you see?
The flag's almost like a memorial. It has all the people who were killed in the terrorist attacks.
Great job, yeah, because when you first look at it, it seems to be just a normal American flag, but as you look closer, you definitely recognize that it has the names of the victims of 9/11 inscribed on it. I'm curious more about this, though. So I see the text. Do you see any other elements here that might have some significance? Go ahead.
Maybe like the squares going up is like maybe signifying like smoke.
Absolutely, it does. It has that effect where it's sort of wafting out and it's spreading from top to bottom. So I'm guessing everything here has meaning of some kind that is designed to work and tell a story about this. Well, let's start with the centerpiece of the memorial. We even talked about this up in the room. So it's a piece of what? Remind me. Yeah.
It's a piece from one of the Twin Towers.
Good, good. So it's a piece of the Twin Towers, obviously rusted. It's been exposed to weather before it was put into storage. You mentioned the bend, the curve that we see in the piece here as well. This name, Robert McGarry, he was the gentleman who went and retrieved this piece of the Twin Towers, this piece of steel. He had connections to the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. That's the organization, the agency that actually oversaw the Twin Towers. They lost police officers in it, employees in the attacks as well. But he received word that the Port Authority had an entire warehouse filled with objects from 9/11. And they were looking to give these out to communities who were interested in establishing memorials in their various neighborhoods. So Mr. McGarry, he went and he collected this object right here. We're going to try to figure out why in just a second. He also gathered items from the Pentagon and the Flight 93 area out in western Pennsylvania. And he wanted to establish a bigger memorial for the day here in Hunterdon County. All right. Ultimately ended up here at the school. I'll tell you why in just a few moments. Let's go back to the steel. Why do you think he chose this one? Out of all the pieces that were there, take a good look at it. What features might make this one important, unique, special to him in viewing it?
So it's probably the support beam that collapsed under the weight, and that's why it's curved.
So it truly endured the forces at work in the collapse on 9/11, right? Have you ever heard the saying, bent but not broken? Does that sound familiar to any of us? Bent but not broken? So the steel is bent, but notice, didn't snap. It didn't break. So to him, there was significance there. Plus, if you stretch this out, any guesses about how tall do you think this original beam was?
Like, I was told 6 feet, but it looks like 7.
Yeah, it's somewhere close to 6 or 7 feet, probably about as tall as you are, about as tall as I am. To Mr. McGarry, that was person size, that was human size. And he wanted something that looked like a person, symbolic of American people being bent but not broken here in steel. So when we wrap up, definitely come up, maybe take a closer look at it, feel it, get a good sense of it. What did you notice first about this piece of steel?
How it's bent, not broken. I'm a very sciencey type. I kind of noticed the bend in all the support beams, but how it's staying tall-ish by height.
Okay, and you mentioned that you think this was some sort of structural or important part of the building?
It looks like it was more part, probably the bottom of the of the building because of how it's bent. It bent halfway, but not all halfway, because if it was halfway, it would be shorter and the end would be on the floor.
Right.
So it was probably a ceiling collapse, so it was probably in the lower floors.
Good, good. And so Mr. McGarry was looking at this and selecting pieces. Why do you think he chose this one for the memorial?
Well, I mean, bent not broken, and even when it's bent, it's a people size. I'm pretty short, but I'm still tight.
Right.
And it still shows how even when it's rusted, it's still standing sort of tall, and it still shows how it's still supporting some weight.
Good. Let's go back to the back panel here and take a closer look at that. So you mentioned the poem. Did anyone get a chance to read it while we've been talking? Take a look at it. All right. If you haven't yet, just go ahead and take a quick read through. But we noticed the symbols before. I think you nailed it right away. The American eagle, symbol of the United States. Can you see down in the corner here? What do you see along the bottom of the panel? Yeah.
It's like cities, like the towers and buildings.
Good, good. So the skyline, right? The silhouette of the Twin Towers, the other buildings in Manhattan, right? So we have these symbols. Now, this is going to be a little bit trickier, but you mentioned the color blue in the background here. Any recognition of why either the color or what we're seeing is significant to this? Go ahead.
Symbolizes like sadness. If you're like feeling blue, maybe that's like the feelings of the New Yorkers.
The blue is a symbolic color. We've reached the point where you weren't there. You weren't part of this day. You didn't experience it firsthand. But talk to someone who vividly remembers 9/11. They'll tell you that it was a clear blue sky that day. That's what a lot of people recall, getting up that morning, going out, starting their day. Clear blue sky in early September. Low humidity, beautiful day, perfect day. This is what it looked like, all right, this blue sky. And each person remembers that blue a little bit differently. So when they designed this panel, they wanted the blue for the blue sky, but they wanted the individual pieces to represent the different perspectives, the different points of view of those who lived through 9/11. The day generated so many different reactions, the day and the weeks and months and years that followed, knowing that we're still living with some of those consequences. But absolutely, so people were shocked, scared, just awestruck by what happened, but then what came next? Is it the hope for something better? Is it the fear? Is it some of the anger and the frustration that occurred afterwards? And then ultimately, kind of the attacks that unfolded from there against Afghanistan and elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And can you folks picture a whole warehouse filled with these that are just waiting to be claimed, and they want to share them with the rest of the United States?
You have to like buy those now?
No, they were, at the time they were willing to give it away. They just wanted it to be memorialized.